who's married to John Krakowski, another English actress.
Raj, I don't know who the hell John Krakowski is.
John Krakowski. He was I'm sorry, John Krasinski. You know who I'm thinking of?
No.
I'm thinking of Emily Blunt.
Oh,
so many
wow.
Emilys in Hollywood. Yeah, I think of Emily Blunt. Okay, so I don't know Emily Browning whatsoever. Welcome back to Shat on TV American Gods Edition, the unofficial podcast companion piece for the upcoming Starz show, American Gods. I'm one of your two hosts tonight, Roger Roper, and alongside me is my main man, my co-host, Gene Lyons.
The TV is the altar. I'm what people are sacrificing to.
And this is our series preview episode where we look at the cast before the premiere of American Gods this Sunday. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for subscribing. However you found us, please be sure to subscribe. Gene, I do realize that a lot of people are searching for American Gods. I was looking at the numbers last week, and the numbers are growing day by day as we're getting closer to the premiere date. This Sunday, April 30th in the U.S., May 1st overseas, people are clamoring to find and settle with a companion podcast for American Gods. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think we bring in quite a pedigree here, but people aren't sure what to make of American Gods. When Game of Thrones came out, people saw the art for it, the posters in the subways, and they saw their swords, and they got that it was sort of a fantasy piece, and they could get behind that. Or with Westworld, it was like, even as odd a storyline as Westworld is, they got that it was sort of be an Old West thing. And I remember you and I were both shocked when Westworld first came out, and people were confused on Twitter, like, what's going on here? Like, it's not the Wild West, and like they had no idea that there were androids involved. Like, so American Gods is really gonna if you thought other shows needed a companion piece, American Gods is gonna confuse the hell out of a lot of people. It's Neil Gaiman. He's very abstract, very avant-garde, and I think that some people, it's gonna take a while for them to settle into a show that's this amorphous.
I think what we're getting are some early adopters, maybe some folks who have read the book or fans of the book. There's other podcasts that were focused on the book, and I think they're also going to do the TV show. What we do here at Shat on TV, again, for those first-time listeners, is we strictly will be reviewing only the TV show. Now, that's not to say that we're not fans of the book, because Gene, our literary expert, he has not only read the book, but he's gone back and reread it in anticipation for the show. I did not read the book originally when it came out, but I have been reading the audiobook, and a lot of our listeners and followers on Twitter have done the same thing. And by goodness, it is a very deep book. So I think the show, I'm jumping ahead here, I think it's only going to cover maybe a third of the book in the first season.
Right. There's no way. I mean, this is a 700-page book. There's a lot of action, a lot of characters that are involved, a lot of scene changes. I mean, by all means, this is a huge book. So it's not quite the pantheon that Game of Thrones is, but you can still get a lot of material out of it. So I think it's wise that they pace themselves. Again, it's not an incredibly long season, so it's still going to be very dense in each episode, a lot of action. If you're a fan of shows that have, I guess, quick pacing, I think this will be for you. There's action interspersed throughout from really the beginning of the show throughout. So, I think that it's wise that they chose to only do a chunk of the book.
Yeah, so what we're going to do on this particular episode is we are going to break down on where you're going to be able to watch American Gods. We're going to give a little preview on Shat on TV, a little bit of introduction into who we are, how the season will go, and then really the bulk of this episode is going to be spent on the characters and the actors, and really kind of mirroring your blog post that you sent out, I think it was a late Sunday or...
No, Roger, we were drunk late Sunday.
Oh, that's right.
This went out Sunday morning.
Aha! So that's what we're going to be doing on the episode. But I'd also like to add one thing if I could, Gene, and just that's the response that American Gods has received. South by Southwest was kind of like they're coming out. It's been very well received. The people who have seen it, so the early reception that the show is getting has been nothing but positive. And I kind of wanted to break that down with you, some of the trailers that we've seen. If I could just add something to the outline, what do you think?
Sure.
All right, perfect. So let's start with Shat on TV. Here's a little bit about us. Here's a little bit about our background. We have been doing review shows since Westworld. We also do another podcast called Shat the Movies, where we review 80s and 90s movies from our childhood, look back on them, that the audience decides what movie we want to watch, and we decide if it still holds up. We try to be active. We try to be very fan-centric. You can follow us everywhere on social media, including Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat. Gene runs our Snapchat. And for our shows that we watch, we like to put out content that's easily digestible. Does that make sense? Because there's a lot of podcast review shows out there, Gene, that for whatever reason tend to go 3 hours long.
Yeah, we're not doing that. We're not going to also laugh at our own jokes. We're not going to, I mean, all the things, well, there you go. But all the things that, you know, that we nitpick about other podcasts, because we're all podcast listeners, we try to avoid that. And we're not calling anybody out here. It's just the way we choose to do things. We edit very heavily. We cut it down very tight. We try to keep the show very tight. And we operate in buckets that are sticking to key points in the show. You watched it. You don't need us to talk about every single plot point. And so we try to honor your time.
Another way you can contact us is through our email address, hosts@shatontv.com, where we allow you, the fan, the listeners, to write in, and we take those emails and give you an avenue to listen, to hear yourself. Isn't that right, Gene?
Right. So on every show that we've done before, we've incorporated the fan emails into the episodes, and they've done incredibly well. We've broken out separate episodes because of the volume of email that we've gotten. And then they're all included on the site as well, which gives us a lot more content, but also allows the fans to interact by writing to each other, answering each other's queries, and we jump in and answer as well. So you will get a response to your email if you write us. It may be featured on the show. We love doing that interaction because, again, we're part of that fan community. We are not professionals. We are not, experts. We're just fans like you. Who happen to want to dedicate, 6 to 9 hours a week of our lives to doing this for free.
That's right. So the schedule will go like this. We're gonna watch the show on Sundays because we're here in America, and we're gonna watch it in Starz. We're gonna record on Mondays. We're going to release on Tuesdays. So international viewers, I think, are going to make out like bandits. Unlike Taboo, our other show, where they received it 3 days before we did over here in the States. For our international viewers, you're going to receive it, the airings on Mondays, and then you're going to be able to listen to us the next day. That's how the season goes. Anything else you want to talk about from kind of the logistics before we dive into the series itself?
No. I think we're good.
American Gods will debut this Sunday, April 30th, and then every Sunday for the next 8 weeks. It is all in the Starz network. Now, Gene and I were concerned because we are not premium cable subscribers. We cut our cord of our cable years ago, but Starz has done something like HBO did, which released their streaming service.
Yeah, so again, like you said, much like HBO and other networks and properties, Starz has its own streaming service, so that will give subscribers access to shows, movies, specials, documentary, anything that Starz put out. A standalone subscription costs $8.99 a month, basically the same price as most music apps or Netflix after a 7-day trial, so you can try it out. You can sign up for it directly through Starz website or via the Starz app. It's available on iOS, Android, Roku, Amazon Fire TV. Starz does offer live streaming, so you can tune into American Gods as soon as it debuts, which is great if you live on the West Coast or if you're on Pacific time like us right now. You don't have to wait to watch it as the time rolls in. You can just watch it along with the East Coasters.
Yeah, one of the things that I like about Starz, what they've done is they've not only do they have it available through their own service, but if you're an Amazon Prime member like I am, if you enjoy buying stuff and having it shipped to your house for free, if you like the Amazon Video, you can actually tack on a Starz subscription so that if you just don't like giving out your credit card to multiple different places and you just like everything in one spot, you can actually add a Starz online streaming live service through your Amazon Prime membership. It's $8.99 no matter which way you go. And it's convenient, and it offers all the same stuff. So you'll get that live streaming on Sunday. Now, for international listeners, it's a little bit different.
Right. For international, you can't get the Starz access. So you'll want to go Amazon Prime Video. You'll need an Amazon Prime account to watch American Gods. The episodes will be available actually a day after they air in the U.S. So American Gods premieres on Starz on April 30th. Amazon Prime will get it May 1st. This will cover dozens of countries outside the U.S. I know some people on Twitter and people have emailed us and complained about that. It's kind of unfair. Sorry, there's not a lot we can do, and hopefully we'll someday reach a world where we can all watch everything at the same time. But until then, that's the way it's going to go. You know, we had to deal with that over here with Taboo, so fair's fair.
Yeah, and when you mention just some countries, it's a vast list of countries that American Gods, you can catch this on Amazon Prime Video. Neil Gaiman released a picture of it's a very easy. You're in social media for corporate. Is this an infographic? Is that what this is?
Yeah, it's a workflow, and it's beautiful. It's like, but it is funny that the left panel of it, and we'll repost it if we haven't already. But the left panel of it is, it's like these big dumb American blocks. You know, do you live in the U.S.? Yes, watch it on Starz. You know, and then no, and there's just like this list. I mean, if you want to talk about American exceptionalism, this workflow looks exactly like what it looks like. But let's see, is Iran on there? No. Sorry, fam. Sorry, fam. Iraq, though. Iraq is
right there. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So that's how you can catch American Gods. Now, we talked about the breaking out party, the coming out party for American Gods happened over the springtime at the South by Southwest Festival. Have you ever been to the South by Southwest Festival in Austin?
I have not. I'm fairly anti-festival.
They put on a huge production. Starz put on a huge production. We were concerned. If you've listened to our intro podcast, the one that sets up our iTunes feed, you heard us talk about our concern with Starz and the production value and whether or not this would be a hit. We talked about the fact that this show had been attempted to be translated into a television show by HBO, and it failed. It looks, though, that Starz has nailed not only the production value, but the way that they are advertising. It was the hit. It was the talk of the town in Austin during South by Southwest.
They put out some trailer footage, and all of it looks very, very good. It's stylish. It's lit dramatically. All the actors really seem to fit their roles. There's a natural chemistry there, especially with Ian McShane. We'll get into a little bit later. But this thing looks legit. It is not that awkward, like BBC type, where you got like, it just doesn't quite look right. Like they didn't spend the extra time on it. So I do look forward to it. They've impressed me so far.
I think it was they released the first episode, the premiere episode, to people at South by Southwest who were able to get in, and the response has been overwhelmingly positive. I believe the critics received the first couple of episodes. It's only an 8-episode season, but so far, if you look on TV Critic or Metacritic or any of your critic TV sites, I think it has like an 8.5 out of 10. Is that the Metacritic score, average score, 8.2?
I think it was somewhere around there. It was in the 8s, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a pretty strong rating. So, again, our concern, for me, I'm really looking forward to this, and especially with you and I being book readers and book listeners. Just going to be able to see that translated onto screen is going to be exciting for me.
Right. We've got 3 levels of familiarity with this, which is going to be really cool because I read this when I was young. I'll be reading it, I read it again. And so at this point, it's, this is something old to me. And in addition, Neil Gaiman, through the Sandman comics and everything else that he's written, I'm very familiar with his work. Growing up goth as well, like, he's a monumental figure in the goth scene. And so therefore, that's my familiar with it. And then Raj here has got, has been through it once. It's fresh to him. He likes a show that can laugh at itself a little bit. He likes a lot of action, so this is going to be right up his alley. And then again, we got Dick, who's never seen any. He's not familiar with it. He doesn't really even know the storyline. So it should be great where we can have really different fan voices. Then incorporating all of you as well. We're going to have a million different opinions. This should be wonderful.
Would you recommend that people read the book and watch this, or do you want them to come in with fresh eyes? What's your opinion on that?
I mean, I'm always a fan of reading the source material because you get so much more depth, and then you can see it acted out, and there's a magic to that. A lot of shows, especially something like this, it might be harder to follow if you've never read the material, but it stands to, or it's going to bear out, and we're going to see how well they can translate this to copy. I mean, I had doubts when Game of Thrones first came out that they'd be able to accurately depict it on screen, and I think they've done a wonderful job of that.
Well, that's what we're going to talk about here right now and for the rest of the show is the characters, the actors who are playing them, and whether or not we feel like that's a right choice. You can check out the blog that Gene wrote. That's what we're going to go off of for this conversation. Our website, again, is shatontv.com. Just navigate to American Gods. The first character, the main character, the one that I'm most excited about is Mr. Wednesday. He is played by the immortal Ian McShane. Just a powerful actor. If you were fans of Deadwood, even if you were fans of the movie Hot Rod, you know who Ian McShane is. He will be stepping into this role. Now, this, in my opinion, might be the best choice that they made from a casting perspective.
My antenna went up as soon as I found out that Ian McShane was involved with this. He is Mr. Wednesday to a T. So Mr. Wednesday, if you're not familiar, he's a grifter, he's a womanizer, he's an all-around just like gritty old dude, but still has this like strange charm and sex appeal to him. He happens to lead the old god, so he is kind of on one side of this battle. And we won't give away too much about him, but basically, if you've seen him in Deadwood, if you've seen him in Game of Thrones, Pirates of the Caribbean, as Raj also mentioned,
Hot Rod.
The guy is you cannot take your eyes off him. He's brilliant, and I think that he is the perfect choice in this.
I think I even said on one of our podcasts for I think it was Shat the Movies, the character, the actor who voices him in the audiobook version of American Gods sounds exactly like Ian McShane. Now, I would imagine that the audiobook came out way before they were doing this show. I don't know how they nailed it. I don't know which came first, the chicken or Ian McShane. But I had to go through, I researched this, I Googled this. I said, did Ian McShane also do the audiobook? No. But when you're listening to it, you see Ian McShane in your brain. It's the craziest thing. I've got the audiobook if you want to listen to it. It's unbelievable. So I'm definitely excited. How far into the character do we want to get? Do we want to give away any spoilers here, or we just want to leave it open?
I don't want to give him any spoilers, but we could talk about just certain ways that he's described. I mean, there's a scene where that'll come on early in the show, I imagine, where Mr. Wednesday meets Shadow Moon, who we'll get to next, and when they meet on a flight, the way he's described, just his behaviors, the drinking and chatting people up, and just kind of being like having some battle scars, some damage to him, and yet being this like totally smooth, well-dressed guy. Like nobody else could do it. I keep going back to that. This might be the best casting job I've ever seen from a TV show.
Now, if you said no one else could do this, but if Ian McShane was not around, if the world was never graced with Ian McShane, who else would you substitute for this role of Mr. Wednesday? Who would be your casting choices?
I mean, so there's some obvious ones, like Jeremy Irons has kind of got that grit to him. An older Mel Gibson is kind of can play that wacky side of him. But the one that really struck me as perfect is if you took Daniel Day-Lewis's performance from There Will Be Blood and put him in as Mr. Wednesday, this could actually be a really entertaining show.
No, I definitely agree. Now, so what I'd like to do here, Gene, with your approval, is I'd like to give a Shat score. Now, if those of you who've ever listened to Shat the Movies, we give our wipe scale. Basically, it's how many wipes something would take to get off your butt. Now, if it's 0 wipes, that means it's perfect. There's no effort. You don't have to do anything. It is what it is. 5 wipes means it's terrible. You're using double rolls. You're looking for that charm and foreplay because you're having to wipe a lot, right? So I figured we'd do a 0 to 5 wipe score for the casting choices. How many wipes would you give Mr. Wednesday, Ian McShane?
Yeah, with Mr. Wednesday, Starz is off to a perfect start for me. I give 0 wipes. No one could do Mr. Wednesday better than Ian McShane. He's a man who simultaneously managed to be menacing, charming, crusty, sexy, scary. So to me, this is a perfect casting job.
Yeah, I also am going to give this 0 wipes. Nobody could do this. Even though I find Mel Gibson or even if Daniel Day-Lewis were to do television again, I find those interesting choices. But for me, combined with the audiobook version that sounds exactly like Ian McShane, there's not a better casting choice that they could have done for Mr. Wednesday. The next character is also one of the main characters. He's introduced and he's part of all the trailers, is the character of Shadow Moon. Now, Gene, who is Shadow Moon?
So Shadow Moon is really the protagonist of the story, and he's going to be our eyes through the book and presumably through the show as well. The key to Shadow Moon is that he's an ex-con, so you know that he's not a saint, and at the same time he's a very big, strong, silent type, and he's got to be ethnically ambiguous, right? We don't really know quite what Shadow is, and he's representing really that melting pot of America, right? So it's really key that this guy's got a very interesting look, and also he likes to do coin tricks. So you got to be good at coin tricks. So in any event, so that's what we're looking for Shadow Moon. He's immortal. He's just a guy, and so therefore, again, you want somebody who's an everyman sort of character. And I thought it was interesting that the real star firepower in this show, they're pushing that toward the gods, and that Ricky Whittle, who plays Shadow Moon, doesn't have any like serious big screen notoriety like some of the other actors who are in the show.
Yeah, he's played by Ricky Whittle. Now, Whittle had played Lincoln in the apocalyptic drama The 100.
Right, yeah. So he's used to sci-fi kind of mystery sort of shows. So he does have and multi-episode series. So he should be at home here. The real question is he's an Englishman first. So the American everyman is English, as always.
Right, yeah, as always.
Cue up Spider-Man, cue up Superman, whatever. And he got his start as a Reebok model. So it should be really interesting to see if he's got the acting chops to really hold this up. I did go back and watch a few clips from The 100. It's not a show that I follow regularly. And he does a decent job, but even in that, he's not carrying the show. So he will have to do a big job here. This show could rise and fall based on his performance.
Yeah, The 100 is a CW show, correct?
Right.
Yeah, so, I mean, here's my concern. Now, anytime I see someone who got their start off as a model, is probably more known for their looks than their acting chops, correct?
Right.
However, if you've listened to the book or read the book, the character of Shadow Moon is, even though he's the protagonist, even though the story is through his eyes, I feel like he's kind of a straight man. He's very even keeled throughout the entire show. So if you are a model with not a huge amount of acting chops, and by no means are we belittling Ricky Whittle's credentials here, but you kind of want someone who's a little bit more stoic. The character of Shadow Moon is kind of like this, kind of I don't want to say he's boring, but he's just kind of a big lumbering guy that does whatever Mr. Wednesday tells him to do. And he's kind of like bumbling through this adventure.
Right. I listed some other people who could play the role possibly, but all of them, like you said, they almost have like too much panache, too much screen presence, right? Like if you wanted a big guy who's kind of, again, ethnically ambiguous, maybe you could go with like The Rock, Dwayne Johnson. Another thing I would think that was interesting is a guy who I love who plays the stoic straight man very, very well, Mike Colter from Luke Cage. I mean, the dude is beautiful. He's a great actor. He's got that big, deep voice, and he's a presence on screen. And also Jason Momoa from Game of Thrones, again, could also play that sort of that quiet, huge figure. But I do like the fact that, a lot of shows that we're big fans of go with characters or actors who are not that well known. And this could be a breakout performance for 100%. Ricky Whittle. Don't belittle the Whittle.
But I like the idea that you said and I wonder if it's a deliberate casting choice by Starz, by having all the American gods be well recognized figures that TV and movie lovers immediately recognize, and they're known for their bodies of work, and then having a protagonist, a main character, someone who's an up and coming actor, someone who we haven't seen a lot of before, and like you say, it could be a breakout role for them. So I'm kind of looking forward to this. How many wipes would you give the casting of Ricky Whittle for Shadow Moon?
For Ricky Whittle as Shadow Moon, I'm going to go 2 wipes. I think he has the perfect look for the role. I just don't know if he can carry this. It remains to be seen. But I have faith. Again, it's not a 0 wipe like Ian McShane, who I think is a slam dunk for it, but we'll see what this guy can do.
Yeah, I'm going to have to, I'm going to go a little bit lower than you are. I'm going to give it like an average wipe, and for me, it's most of mine are 3 wipes whenever I go. So, it's an average casting. I think they've got the look down. Everything that I've seen in trailers have been good. He sounds, again, like the character in the audiobook, the Ricky Whittle does. So we'll see. In the upcoming episodes, but for me that's a 3 wipe casting. Now, continuing on with the Moon family, his wife, Laura Moon, also plays a big point throughout the story. I guess we can give a little bit of a background on the wife, correct?
Yeah, so Laura is Shadow Moon's wife. He starts out the book in prison, and she is obviously not in prison. So they're maintaining a relationship at a distance, and so she sort of makes some mistakes, makes some errors, and should we give it away? I mean,
yeah. Listen, we're gonna find out in the first episode, right? I mean, and you see it in the trailer. Shadow Moon is attending her funeral. That's what gets him out of prison early. Laura Moon's death.
Right. So she's a devoted wife and she's beloved, but she's not exactly a saint. And you'll find out what exactly it was that she did, presumably in the first episode. So she's played by Emily Browning, who I think, is again, the look seems appropriate. I'm a little more concerned about this one. She does have big screen experience, but nothing groundbreaking. Her big role, I think, was in Sucker Punch. And then she also had some supporting roles in some sort of iffy movies, including Pompeii, which I call Game of Chariots. And also Ghost. Dude, did you see Pompeii? It was seriously like...
I tried.
They're like, look, people like Jon Snow. Let's just make a movie around him.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they did that also with the guy who played the other Stark brother, right? Didn't Rob Stark get his own movie as well and then kind of fell off the face of the earth?
Did he? Because I like him. He's got a nice face.
Yeah, he didn't. Anyway, Pompeii is terrible. I think it was
so bad.
It's so bad. But Emily Browning is a name I know, but I can't put her anywhere. Does that make sense? You know how there's some actors in Hollywood where you're like, oh, I know Emily Browning, but then I can't remember anything that she was in.
You're sure not thinking of Emily Bronte?
Who's married to John Krakowski? Another English actress.
Raj, I don't know who the hell John Krakowski is.
John Krakowski. He was. I'm sorry, John Krasinski. I'm thinking of Emma. You know who I'm thinking of?
No.
I'm thinking of Emily Blunt.
Oh,
so many
wow.
Emilys in Hollywood. Yeah, I'm thinking of Emily Blunt. Okay, So I don't know Emily Browning whatsoever.
Okay, so anyway,
but she's a perfect actress with a perfect name for Shad on TV.
Yeah, so the thing... Oh, I get it. So one of the things that does concern me about this is from the trailers that we've watched, it seems like they're playing Laura Moon as kind of a funny character, which I don't quite understand. She's definitely a different character from most books or TV shows that you'd watch, but do you really consider her funny?
Listen, the audiobook, it's very hard to derive humor from audio. I feel like when I read a book, I get more humor out of it than I do listening. I can see where Neil Gaiman was trying to infuse a little bit of humor in some of her sarcasm and kind of her wit when she's in scenes with, when she appears. If you read the book, you know what that means. When she appears to Shadow. So I could see maybe they took that choice in the storyline to make her a little bit more comical character. And like you said earlier, I'm okay with that because I think shows need a little bit of levity. It can't be 100% dark and melancholy. Otherwise, we're going to have 8 episodes of Taboo.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind it so much. I just hope that this doesn't become like a zombie comedy sort of thing where, where they go that route with her. I think that she could do well. They just got to limit her screen time. I really hope that this doesn't become a thing where they give her more of a role. There's a tendency on television and in movies to make that romantic storyline, more or bigger than it is or more important than it is, more influential. Although she does, play a reasonably large role in the story. I thought about other people that could play her. She has kind of a similar look to Jennifer Lawrence in the way that her screen presence, the way she holds herself and her face. Big fan of Una Chaplin from Taboo. Let's bring her back. I mean, she jumped off a bridge anyway. Like, come on.
Right.
I also thought we could maybe go a little more, ethnic and go with like a Rosario Dawson, who I think could play this character. I just really like seeing her on screen.
I was going to say, what I've learned is over the last few weeks, you've been doing nothing but watching Luke Cage. That's like, in addition to Taboo, Game of Thrones, and Westworld, you've been watching Luke Cage because Rosario Dawson is also in Luke Cage. I believe that Una Chaplin and Rosario Dawson, more so than Jennifer Lawrence, would be perfect characters here. I believe that Jennifer Lawrence, I just don't see her in this role personally. And you know how much I love Jennifer Lawrence. So if that tells you anything. So how many wipes would you give this casting choice?
For me, this is a 2-wiper. She showed in The Uninvited, which was a big screen role that she did, that she can play a haunting character. And her resume is big enough for a relatively simple role. So I think that I'm okay with this. Again, not as excited about as I am about Shadow Moon or about Mr. Wednesday, but I think it'll be all right in this use.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you. I don't know enough about Browning. I'm also going to have to give this a 3-wipe. Casting. I think that she looks like Shadow Moon's wife. I think that, she has, so far what we've seen in some of the trailers is kind of like you said, a haunting look, but I don't know enough about Emily Browning, the actress, to tell whether or not she's going to nail this. And if your early indications are, on track, if they try to make her a iZombie type character, it might be something that I don't like. But so far, I'm kind of on the fence. I could go either way, which is why I'm giving it 3 wipes. Now, the character that I'm most excited about outside of Mr. Wednesday is this next character, Mad Sweeney. He is, how would you describe him, Gene?
Mad Sweeney is a super tall leprechaun. And because, surprise, in American Gods, leprechauns aren't short. I feel like people always want to flip leprechaun lore on its head. Like, how many times have you seen a movie where they're like, oh, you thought leprechauns were short? Nope.
Yeah, or you're Leprechaun 2, and there are no leprechauns in the movie Leprechaun 2. It's just people who turn into plants.
That's Troll 2.
Oh, is that Troll 2? Yeah. Aha. There's no leprechauns in Troll 2 either.
No. That's true.
That's true. Yeah.
So,
but this character, you talked about having characters that have a little bit of levity to them, have a little bit of comic relief to them. The one that did come across in the audiobook as, okay, I see where Neil Gaiman was trying to bring in a character that was a fan favorite, someone that you could side on, someone that you didn't, he was kind of a crazy character, kind of out there. Mad Sweeney is someone who I am looking forward to watching this season because even though they try and flip Leprechaun, he's just a character that I think is going to quickly become a fan favorite.
Right. Mad Sweeney's played by Pablo Schreiber, and if you don't recognize that name, I'm sure you recognized a character that he's played. He was George Pornstache Mendez in Orange is the New Black. So you know that he can play that character that is simultaneously unsettling and yet makes you laugh. So I think it's a really good choice. He also starred in the 2016 Benghazi movie, 13 Hours.
Yeah, which also starred John Krasinski, who's married to Emily Blunt, not Emily Browning. Yeah. So now I think this is a perfect casting choice. I didn't even know it was Schreiber. So Schreiber is a character actor that dives into the role. He almost has kind of a Daniel Day-Lewis morphing capability to where he really truly becomes the characters. And I think he's going to do absolutely fantastic in this role. But you talk about other characters that it could have been. Who would you have chosen for this?
I would have gone with someone who was actually Irish. Cillian Murphy. You could go with Shane McGowan from the Pogues, who's got probably the worst teeth in the world, but that would kind of fit a leprechaun. Shane McGowan basically just looks like I imagine a leprechaun would look in real life. You could take it, basically any dude from the Dropkick Murphys would be great. A lot of options. And if you really got to go not Irish, how about Seth Green? I mean, he's got that flaming red hair. He's fun. He's not as tall as you'd like him to be, but whatever.
Right, yeah. I was gonna say if you're trying to go for tall leprechauns, Seth Green is probably the last actor you want to. I think Cillian Murphy would have been a perfect choice as well. But based on Schreiber's work in Orange is the New Black and 13 Hours, I think for me this is a 2-wipe casting for me. I think that this is closer to Ian McShane than it is Emily Browning or the Whittle.
Yeah, I'm going to hold him to a higher standard on this one because Mad Sweeney is such a big character that really needs to carry a couple big scenes. He's got the height. He is a really tall dude. I think he's like 6'4", something like 6'4.5". He's got that volatile nature, but I don't know if he's Irish enough. Even with gorgeously colored red hair and a beard, I feel like it might be an imperfect match, mainly because, again, each of these gods is supposed to represent the heritage from which he comes. I think it would be a nice homage to Irish culture to actually have an Irish actor, even though you need him to be like over 6 feet tall. There are some.
Now, it could just be the cinematography. It could just be the way that they're shooting the show. But even though I don't believe Pablo has red hair naturally, I think this is truly, like you said, a colored job here, right?
Yeah, and also his hair is like super outlandish. Kind of got a sort of a mohawky sort of punk look to him. Very very Ricky Wild Thing Vaughn haircut going on.
But that's a lot better than who was Mother Dick on The Walking Dead. Michael Chiklis, is it Michael Chiklis? Michael, I don't know, the actor who played Mother Dick on Walking Dead. They put on this terrible red dye color job on. He already had red undertones, so it just didn't work. For the fact that they're doing this, they're giving him red hair, red beard, red mustache, and all that stuff. It looks good, and it looks character specific. Like I know you want to kind of match the character as it's described in the book. They're doing a good job to the audience for believing that versus that shit show over at The Walking Dead. So thank you, Starz, for that. The next character that I want to talk about is Technical Boy. Now, Technical Boy is one of the new gods. How do you describe Technical Boy, Gene?
He's a dickhead. Now, Technical Boy, I'll just let fans know, my least favorite character in the entire book. He's just anyway, he's a new god. Surprise, right? His name. And the name Boy keys you up. He's immature. He's unpredictable. He's dangerous. He basically represents everything old farts like Big D hate about millennials. You got Technical Boy. He's going to be very slick, vaping, that kind of shit. I really don't care for him.
Yeah, now he is played by Bruce Langley. Who is Bruce Langley?
Bruce Langley is relatively new to the acting game, much like Technical Boy. He doesn't have much of a film or TV background. His biggest role, I had to do a little digging, was in an independent film called Deadly Waters, which is a movie about falling in love with a siren, like the ocean creature, not the thing that goes on top of a police car.
Now, when Neil Gaiman first wrote American Gods, he wrote the character of Technical Boy, one of the new gods, more in line with the Matrix kind of character, kind of like that dark, kind of goth, industrial look. Now, since the early 2000s, late 1990s, the internet and the way that we use technology has evolved. And I think what they're going for here is more of a millennial look, more of a clean, more of a what's the word? More of a minimalist look, someone who's always kind of attached to their phone, attached to technology, kind of attends South by Southwest and other festivals and EDM concerts, right? So I think that's who they were going for. But is that the right choice, or do you think Technical Boy would have been more of a 4chan user, someone who's always constantly on the dark web? Would that have been a better choice than kind of doing kind of the mainstream technology that they're going for here?
Yeah, Technical Boy reminds me a lot of the movie Hackers. Like they went for that really slick like vinyl. He rides in a limo. He's he's young. He's thin. He's edgy. Whatever, but. I think you go two ways. I mean, again, with Technical Boy, we're talking about the technology that people worship, right? And so today, the technology that people worship isn't necessarily that dark web or that nefarious side of the internet. It is actually just Snapchat, and Instagram and what's the other one? What are the kids using these days?
Tinder,
Bumble, Tinder. Yeah. So again, my only complaint is they could have gone with somebody who really looked like the internet would look. Somebody who's kind of maybe hasn't showered, overweight, basically us, that would have been a better choice.
Yeah. So who would you choose? Someone who's a little fluffier, so to speak. That's a nice way of saying I'm about 15 pounds overweight right now.
Could you imagine how awesome it would be if Technical Boy was played by a chubby Jonah Hill?
Oh my God, it'd be great. Yeah, because he's like you said, he's kind of a dick. He's sarcastic. He's very dry, and there's not a better actor working today that can do that well with a little bit of charm, to where you hate him but you kind of like him. Than Jonah Hill. Jonah Hill just did a movie, War Dogs. It didn't do very well in theaters, but if you get a chance, rent it or download it or stream it, however you get your movies. I find him perfect. He's kind of a villain. He's kind of a dick in that movie. Perfect for someone like Technical Boy.
Yeah, I think we also could have gone with, if you guys remember the Encyclopedia Britannica commercials, there was that Donovan Freeberg guy. He's like sitting down at the computer terminal with like, I think he had like a floppy disk or something. That guy would also be, he just reminds me of like just a guy that you hate, but somehow seems to know a lot of stuff. But yeah, I think Technical Boy, again, is a character that they can make quite ominous, and they could have gone a lot of different ways in this because he's not described as in detail as some of the other characters. So it's interesting that they went this route.
Let me ask you this. Speaking of PC commercials, what if we were to use Justin Long for Technical Boy? You know, Justin Long, he was part of the Dell. Was he on the Dell? No, he was the Apple commercials, right? Didn't Justin Long do the Apple commercials? Yeah. I think Justin Long would have been perfect for Technical Boy, especially in the direction they were going for, right? When's the last time you saw Justin Long in anything really good? You probably could have gotten him on the cheap.
That's literally the only time I've seen him. I think is on the Apple commercial.
He was also in the movie Waiting. So how many wipes do we give Bruce Langley as Technical Boy?
This is going to be probably my lowest score so far. I'm going to go 3 wipes. I just don't know enough about his acting ability. All these other actors we've seen in film, we've seen on some pretty, widely watched TV shows. So I'm just not sure on there, but he does seem to have a panache to him. I saw the promo photos and hated his face immediately. I hate the character, so that matches up. I do wish they'd gone with somebody a little chubbier.
Yeah, I'm also going to go 3 wipes here as well, for all the same reasons as you did. So one of the other gods that I want to talk about is the character Bilquis, who even if you're reading it or you're listening to it on audiobook, all of her scenes that she's in, downright sexy. Like instant boner time over at the Roger Roper household when she's in a scene. She's an ancient goddess of love, much in the same vein as the Greek goddess Aphrodite, right?
Right, yeah. So the goddess of love, you gotta take yourself out of current American. This is the speech I give ladies in the hot tub. You gotta get yourself out of current American norms about sexuality, in the sense that these, when we think of worship, we think about going to church and saying prayers and stuff. But if you're worshiping a goddess of love, it is through sexuality and through love and through acts of love. And so therefore, she is worshipped through love. And therefore, if you're living in current American society, the best way to get that worship is by essentially prostitution. So she's an ancient goddess of love reduced to prostitution. She takes sex on TV to a whole new level. Even the clips that they've already shown so far, that it is going to get dirty on Starz. She's got to be dark. She's got to be powerful. She's got to be irresistible. And so they're really looking for an actress that fit that bill.
Yeah, and who is that actress that's playing Bilquis?
I believe it's Yetide Badaki. So she has had a small role in Masters of Sex. She really hasn't done anything to suggest that she could devour men in the bedroom. But the clip alone, I think I'm pretty convinced that she's got the right look for it.
From what I've seen, I think to pull off this type of character, you have to have a little bit of a different look. It can't just be someone like, and again, as much as I love her, I don't think Jennifer Lawrence could have pulled this off.
No, what's interesting with Bilquis is if you go back and do some research there, Bilquis is essentially the Queen of Sheba. And so you're looking at Egyptian root, you're looking at, that area, and not what you would think of Egyptian at this time, but ancient Egyptian, which is a very different look. But you need that African influence. I think they did a great job of that, very carnal, very dark and sexy. So I think they did a great job. Could other people have played the role? Probably. I love if you watch any current Rihanna music video, she could definitely be Bilquis.
When you talk about like strong black female actresses out there, Angela Bassett comes to mind as well. She was in What's Love Got to Do with It?
I think, and also American Horror Story, where where she
that's right,
again combined a sort of she was a frightening and powerful woman, but also very sexy.
And there's not many actresses working today that can pull this off just from a look and from just a commanding presence. But is there anyone else that you could see playing the role of Bilquis?
I mean, look, if they wanted people to just love the show immediately and like get millions of viewers, just hire Beyonce. I'm sure she's got nothing going on right now. Just call up Beyonce. Say, Beyonce, do you want to play a prostitute who used to be the goddess of love? She'll be like,
yeah. We did Shat the Movies did early on. We did Pretty Woman. Listen, Julia Roberts, who is a street hooker on Hollywood Boulevard, which is basically, I think Bilquis is kind of doing the same thing, right? She's working on the streets, right? That's where she's getting her love. She's getting her devotion from the Johns. This is no Pretty Woman. This is no Julia Roberts. You need someone who can just bring an era of sexuality here. So I definitely think Beyonce probably could have done it better than Julia Roberts. So listen, if they want to remake Pretty Woman, what I'm saying is Beyonce is the perfect choice. Anyway,
in the Richard Gere role,
in the Richard Gere role, that's what we want. That's right. How many wipes would you give the casting of Bilquis?
I'm going to go 3 wipes on that. Based on the promotional stills and a smoking hot teaser video that you can watch on shadontv.com, we are believers. But she's a critical character in developing this dark, sexy side of American Gods, really balancing it out with, again, like we mentioned, the levity and what's largely a very white cast. So no pressure there, Yetedi. Hopefully it all goes well. I'm going 3 wipes, though. I'm going to wait and see what she can do.
I'm going to give her 2 wipes because her name is Yetidi. Now, there are a bunch of other characters that we don't have the same amount of time to go into and break down, but I did want to bring them up and get your opinion of them. Crispin Glover, who most people know from Back to the Future and that weird guy on every late night talk show host. He is playing Mr. World. Anytime Crispin Glover is cast in anything, I'm immediately interested in it.
Crispin Glover plays weird better than almost anybody else. He is at like Gary Busey level. He could be a Busey, a better looking Busey. And so he's playing Mr. World. So he's going to have to be a counterweight to Mr. Wednesday. And that's a tall order, but again, you had to go with somebody who's a seasoned actor who has a lot of screen presence. I think he could do a great job on this, and I'm all aboard for Crispin Glover.
Gillian, is it Gillian? It's Jillian, right? She does the soft G in her name.
Yeah, she's not. We have our Gillian. She is their Jillian.
Jillian. All right. Most people know her from X-Files. She is playing Media. I think this is again another brilliant casting choice. I think Gillian Anderson's a fantastic actress, and just knowing some of the appearances that Media makes, some of the characters, again for fans of the book, you know what I'm talking about. She looks exactly like that character when dressed up. She could be one of those people that is hired for that look specifically for parties and corporate events.
I think it's interesting that she hasn't actually done more stuff. Like when you think about Gillian Anderson, everything that she's in is really good. And so I wonder why we haven't seen her more. I'm really excited about this because, again, I was a big fan of the X-Files, big fan of her work, and I'm excited to see her do something that allows her to break out of that, that very cookie cutter kind of Scully role that she's usually pigeonholed into.
Yeah, another character that has not been in a lot of roles as of recent, but as soon as I saw his name attached to this project, I got very excited because I loved him, and a lot of people didn't like him, but there was a few years in the early 2000s where this guy was in everything. It's Orlando Jones. He's playing Mr. Nancy. I'm just excited to see Orlando Jones again.
Yeah, so one of our readers on the website, Tom C, wrote in, and he said that he was really excited about Ian McShane, Ricky Whittle, and Emily Browning. He said that they're perfectly cast. I think they're going to kill it. But he's skeptical about a few things. And one of the things he's skeptical about is Mr. Nancy, who's supposed to be much older in the book. And Orlando Jones is not really that old. But he's funny. He's tricky. I think it's a good casting. I'm excited for it. And again, I do like Orlando Jones. He's just fun to look at. Like, I don't know what it is about his face. You just can't stop.
Yeah, if you haven't seen Bedazzled, Orlando Jones steals that movie. He's hilarious. So check that out. Now, one of the other character actors that we absolutely enjoy that we're excited to see as part of the show and was actually in a movie that we just did over at Shat the Movies, Major League, is Corbin Bernsen. He played Roger Dorn in that movie. He is also shown up. Now, of course, he has a long list of TV shows and movies that he's done. He is playing a new character that actually was not in the book, but it was written specifically for the show. His character's name is Vulcan. What do we know about him?
So Vulcan is the Roman god of fire and metalworking, hence, volcano. But he's a god that's actually found great purchase in America because of guns. So they basically are taking that. He wasn't originally in the book, but they're putting him on the show as essentially the god of guns. Corbin Bernsen, I'm excited to see him play kind of a no pun intended, an explosive and aggressive character. I really enjoyed him in Major League, even though he didn't play a huge role in it, but he was effective in what he did. Who could forget that final scene? Strike this motherfucker out. So go Corbin Bernsen.
Well, what I love about this character too is that when you think of, the dichotomy of old gods versus new gods, and that's really what the show is based around. You think here you have an old god, but he's doing very well in this new world. Which side is he going to be part of? I think it's a perfect character for this type of story to be told.
Yeah, and that sort of leads to the next one. Kristin Chenoweth, who debuted on, or really, was made Wicked, the Broadway show, hugely popular. She's got, again, massive acting chops, and she's playing Easter, who again is very, very well celebrated in America, even though she's very much an old Germanic god.
Yeah, and in the book, and again, I'm trying not to give it too much away, but we just had Easter here, right, and around the world, we don't celebrate Easter in the same way that it was originally intended to be. Right. We celebrate it with egg hunts and everything like that, but the real meaning behind it has been lost. And so here you have another case of an old god being celebrated, but unlike Vulcan, I don't think that she's quite grasping why she's being celebrated.
Right, yeah, we don't release all the virgins into the woods and then go chase after them and copulate with whichever one we can catch.
Yes, exactly, which would be a much better, I have no idea why they changed that, the virgin forest hunt that I grew up with, now into Easter egg hunts. It makes no sense.
Dude, the freaking chocolate lobby.
Aha, Hershey's, Nestle, powerful corporations.
New gods.
Jeremy Davies, we got two more before we close up shop and get ready for the premiere. Jeremy Davies is playing Jesus. You talk about Easter egg hunts. That all, of course, comes from Jesus.
Right. So a lot of you may know Jeremy Davies from Lost, where he played Daniel Faraday. Really likable guy. Kind of tiny and white for a Jesus, but we'll have to see. I was really hoping for Jesus that they would go with somebody Middle Eastern. For other Middle Eastern characters that will appear in the show, they are actually Middle Eastern actors playing sort of not as glamorous a role as Jesus. So it was an interesting choice there. Yeah,
I would have liked to have them, because they are sticking faithful. You talk about the character of Bilquis going back to Egyptian roots and, trying to say, when you think of Shadow Moon being that American mixed blood, that, when you think of Americans, that's the true idea of, all these cultures and races coming together and living together in one country under the flag of freedom. The fact that they made Jesus white, I think, is a little bit. Who are they trying to appeal to? I guess is what I have a concern with.
I guess you could make the argument that, again, this is the Jesus that we worship in this country, and therefore that's the Jesus that's represented. One of the things that they make a point of in the book, and hopefully they'll do in the show as well, is that these gods don't just exist in America. It's not like that God is one entity and it exists only on this continent, but rather that God could be stronger in a different part of the world and represented differently. That's just this God that was brought here. So in that sense, that's just American Jesus.
Well, the last character that we'll talk about is he has a bad name on the stand-up scene, but he's actually a very hardworking comedian, hardworking actor. I like him. You don't. Dane Cook. He is playing Robbie, Shadow's wisecracking best friend. You are not happy about this.
I can only pray that American Gods gives Dane Cook an ability to redeem himself in my eyes. I'm sure he's concerned about it, but really, I just want him to I don't want him to do the talk that he does with relationship. Like, he's got to cut that out. Maybe not do so much physical humor, but he is supposed to be a wisecracking best friend, so he's probably going to be, the same old Dane Cook. I'm really hoping he doesn't bring that. Or maybe that's the whole shtick. Like, his friend is basically Dane Cook, and that's why things go sour.
Right. So, I mean, Robbie's not a huge character in the books.
Thankfully.
So we'll see how big of a character they give him, or how big of a role they give him in the show. But that's our character analysis. Is there anyone else that we may have missed that you want to talk about? Is there anything else before we shut down and get ready for Sunday, Gene?
Some of the readers and people on social media have pointed out that we didn't put all the characters on shoutOnTV.com on the blog post. We will be adding to that. We just kind of wanted to get the first ones up there that we're likely to see in episode 1. So like Loki will be making an appearance. We'll have Zernabog. Like there's going to be a lot of different other characters that come up. We just got the ball rolling on this. So please do check back on shoutOnTV.com. Write to us. Let us know what you think about these castings. Host at shoutOnTV.com. And let's really get a conversation going about this. And then we'll have the next episode, or the first episode next week.
Yeah, absolutely. So this concludes this week's episode of Shout on TV American Gods Edition. Be sure to follow us again on social media. Share with a friend. We're everywhere, including Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram. Also, search for Shout on TV Podcast on Facebook. That website, again, is shatontv.com. Our email address, again, is hosts@shatontv.com. We're everywhere fine podcasts can be found, including iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, YouTube. Be sure to subscribe, and if you stop by any of those, please be sure to leave a 5-star review or share with a friend. And we have an Amazon affiliate link. So if you shop on Amazon or you want to buy an Amazon Prime account to watch American Gods, why not do it through our affiliate link? Again, we don't do this professionally. We're not making money off this. We're just trying to keep things paying for things like our servers and Zencaster and all that fun stuff. So you can also check out our sister podcast, ShatTheMovies.com, where we review 80s and 90s movies from our childhood that you choose the movie. So if you hate us and you want us to watch a terrible movie, go and vote for the worst movie that we have on there. Our next one is going to be Willow, followed by what's followed by Willow?
Actually, I think Roger Rabbit will come out.
Oh, yeah, we have Roger Rabbit, then the Willow. Okay, that's right. So you can check that out. Also, you can check out our other TV review podcasts, such as Westworld and Taboo. We're also going to be doing Game of Thrones after American Gods this summer. That podcast is called On the Throne. So you can check out everywhere here at Shout On Entertainment. On behalf of my co-host, Gene Lyons, and Big D, Dick Ebert, who couldn't be here, I'm Roger Roper. Be sure to join us next Tuesday? Yeah, that's right, next Tuesday, for our first American Gods Deep Dive podcast episode. Thank you so much for listening. Good night, and hail to the old gods.